Hi guys, Andrea, life coach and ICU nurse. I want to talk a little bit about fear. Fear is a vibration in our body, it's a feeling. And oftentimes we avoid looking at what's causing our fear or avoid processing it because we think it's easier to just try and move away from it, which we kind of have to move through it. And what we've seen with COVID is that there has been a lot of fear on all different sides of healthcare and the public and leadership. And that's all okay, but fear is always trying to send us a message. And one thing I like to do is think we're coming from a shore in our lives as humans, like one riverbank. And we often think that we have a goal or we have something we would like to get through, like COVID, and we think we're going to another shore, right? And then everything will be fine. And in the middle, we're feeling some fear. And kind of how I like to think of that is that we're kind of building a raft, and every plank in that raft is a feeling that at times might be loose and jostling and, you know, making us pay attention to it. And although it might be a nuisance to, nail it down, get it back cohesive, that's our work as humans. And when we understand that every emotion that shows itself to us is valuable and that we also can take feelings with us and still be ourselves is when we come to a really great place and we build a very solid raft. That being said, we often think we're going to not need our raft because our circumstances are going to change. And I just ask you to question that. Like, then we're on to something else, right? Like, COVID was fearful. We're like, we'd like to step out of COVID so we can step out of fear. But we still are fearful about other things then, like emerging back into the world. And when do we get our next vaccine? And what if there isn't enough work? And all the other questions. Like, we hit a shore and then we get right back on our raft. And that's when we understand what we've built our raft with, that this work is so amazing. And interestingly, fear comes from what we're thinking. And our brain wants to keep us safe. And so oftentimes, yes, we have valid fear. And sometimes it's fear of concepts that we have fear of, rejection and failure. And so knowing the difference between real fear and holding that and fear that we really want to take a look at, they are kind of two different buckets, but both acceptable. And, both fears can come with us. The nice thing to do with fear is kind of ground it, kind of name it, and let it kind of run through you and sink into the floor. That's a process that has worked for me. And that doesn't mean that we push it out of our body. It just means that we kind of ground it. And if it has to continue to pass through us, even for a whole day or for, some amount of time, that just has to happen. And I think a lot of nurses felt that. We worked through fear, we worked through pain. But interestingly, if we were processing that and thinking that it was normal or valuable because it was telling us to use our PPE and to pay attention to our surroundings and continue to support people in wearing masks and getting vaccinated, as we accepted it and used it for what it was, knowing that it's a boundary for us and not a hindrance, is how we experience the world with fear and how we really lessen the fear of fear. So I would love to have you do this work more deeply with me on feelings. And we could talk about a lot of feelings. We could spend 30 minutes kind of seeing where you're at, if there's feelings that you think you're not processing that are hindering you, or if you can't get in touch with those feelings. That's what coaching is about, kind of seeing what's there, giving you a safe space to understand that a feeling is a way we experience the world. It comes from what we're thinking, not from the circumstance ever. And so that's the work I do. Just send me an email, romercoaching@gmail.com, and just say in the headline, like, let's get together and talk for 30 minutes, or message me and just say, hey, I'm curious about this. And of course, not a lot of people have done a lot of coaching and it's all new, but it's all for you to see how you already have all of the answers. It's just that a coach holds space for you. So hopefully this talk about fear was helpful. Reach out if you have questions.